What's on your Christmas list from from like a marketing perspective? Like what are you hoping to see from the Googles and the Metas and the Chat GPTs of the world? Everybody who's joining us.
I'm hoping to finally see those Google Post metrics that they've been promising for the last.
Oh, you took mine.
Oh,
Yep.
did I? I'm sorry.
No, it's time for reporting. If they want people to use, which Google has told us they want people to use Google Posts, then they need to give in return.
Yes.
Uh, Give us some metrics, help us understand it.
Mine is
I'm also
Facebook
looking.
showing less
Okay.
AI content. I'll say mine is Facebook showing less AI content and going
Mhm.
back to how kind of used to be, where the pages you follow, you actually see their content.
Yes. The AI generated content right now on Facebook, Instagram, it's so bad. For the SOCi platform, a local metric related to LLM search. Well, ask and you shall receive, because that is on the roadmap, arriving very, very soon. Keep your eyes peeled. Sooner than you think.
Yeah, very excited for that. Any new metrics I get excited for because any new way we can measure success is always a win in my book. So I was
Yep.
very happy to see, for those who haven't seen yet, pulling in Yelp and Bing metrics, which is exciting to see something new.
Yep. Yeah, we've got Yelp, Bing, Apple. There is LLM reporting on the horizon. There is like a SOCi score type of report on the horizon, benchmarking, our executive reporting, our reporting product team, and myself and Mike and Kelly, and we've been getting pulled into all kinds of calls to kind of help plan and really innovate. So some really exciting stuff coming down the pike the next couple months.
Yeah. Oh, and what's really exciting, I didn't even, because it was just, I think, announced yesterday, I didn't even get to do an industry update on it, but the interesting social metrics that Google is releasing.
And Search Console, I know. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this while you guys are joining, because it's not an industry update. But yeah, Search Console launching social metrics, which is not in there yet, right? Like I was looking
No,
the
I
other
looked
day at the
yesterday.
briefing. Cannot wait to see what that is all about. Like, I think if I want anything in the new year, aside, well, really, it's just more reporting in general. So, like Google Post reporting, but we need better insights into AI overviews visibility. What are the conversations that are causing us to occur? I don't just want seeded keywords and, via the API of what's showing up in the three pack. I don't care about the three pack as much as I used to. I want to understand how am I appearing in AI mode, AI overviews. I want some reporting out of ChatGPT. Give me some insights. Like I'm trying to understand, from these tools. You can obviously build tools, and so she has built tools to try and understand that visibility, but like they gotta give us some more in the API. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's my wish for the new year.
Cool.
And with that, we'll go ahead and kick it off. Welcome everyone to the last SEO juice of the year. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that December is a super busy month, so really excited to see so many of you here with us today. That's awesome. For those of you, if this is your first time, my name is Casey McBride. I am SOCi's Senior Director of Strategic Consulting. With that role, I have a really awesome team of SEO, social media, and data analytics. And our sole focus is taking what we learn from the industry and helping our customers apply it and measure their success and develop strategies to help them be successful. I'm joined by my two wonderful counterparts here, and I'll allow them a chance to introduce themselves, and I'll stop talking. Okay.
Uh, I'm Mike Snow. I'm the local SEO enablement manager. I think Casey did a great job of setting us up. I will say, in kind of a setup to Kelly going next, is the reason we have social in the SEO juice is for those who weren't with us in July, we kind of rebranded this as search everywhere optimization. I know there's been a lot of talk this year. Is it GEO? Is it LLMO? Is it, SEO? Is it so I look at it as search everywhere. Wherever you're searching, it is a search engine, whether it is your traditional search, whether you're searching in social, whether you're using an LLM to search, it's all search. And so we've brought all this together here. So even though it says the SEO juice, don't think of search engine is Google. Think of it as anywhere you're searching, everywhere you're searching, and that's what we're trying to cover.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's great kind of setting me up here. So, hey everyone, my name is Kelly Satino, social media enablement manager. So, a lot of what I do is kind of what Casey already described. Keep up with the industry, love talking to customers and prospects about how they can really focus their strategies on hyper local level with social, and then like Mike mentioned with search. Also, would love to hear in the chat if you guys are starting to make your 2026 marketing plans. And if you're a social person, are you starting to work with your SEO counterparts and vice versa for SEO and social? I know we often come into these calls and encourage people to work with their SEO and social teams, but now I'm curious to hear how many of you actually are doing that heading into the next year. So if you want to put in the chat any insight you have on that, we'd be very curious.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And want to make sure that you guys have your links handy. If you want to rewatch any existing SEO Juice recordings, they are all available to you via either of these two links, whether you're a customer or non-customer. If you remember from November, we actually had two sessions. There was so much content that we had a juice spillover and had a good 30-minute session on the local search ranking factors study. So if you missed that, definitely check it out in SOCi University. And this today's recording will be available there too, and any of our whole library of recordings. Which at this point, what we're coming on a year and a half, almost like 2 years. When did we start?
We
Like
started last June, so we got about a
last.
year and a half of webinars in here.
Love it. Our show is almost a toddler. We're 6 months away from that. Okay, so we are going to hit you guys with some latest news in search, social, and beyond. And then Kelly is going to walk us through a summary of a really great session that happened at Reimagine with Gary Vee, if you all are familiar with him. He had some very interesting things to say about the importance of organic social that Kelly is going to elaborate a bit more on and talk to you all about. And then Mike getting into some very tactical things that you guys can take away today around LLMs and how they can tell you about how customers are researching in different areas and your industries. It's really cool. Definitely something we feel like you guys can take away and apply in your everyday roles. And then we got a Caught in the Wild. And then that's it from us in 2025. So let's go ahead and kick it off.
All right. So industry news, the latest of what we're starting. And of course, as soon as I start talking, the lawnmower goes in the background. Hopefully you won't hear that.
We can't hear it.
Um,
Zoom is amazing.
so starting off, I don't know if anyone's been doing a lot of search this week. If you have, you might have seen that experience on, especially on desktop, is very different. Google's Finder and local services maps have been replaced by a Places tab. So what do I mean by that? So for years, I have a little GIF here that you can see. Normally you see the local pack that appears. And in the past, when you click that Places button, what you would get is another map that looked very much, if you didn't understand the difference between a Places map and a Google map, you might have thought you were taken to Google Maps. It's a completely different screen. It's a completely different experience. Now, when you click on this, it stays on that SERP page. And instead of opening a new services.map or finder.map.com, a whole new map experience, it's going to a new tab. It's going to the Places tab. And it almost looks like an expanded local pack, if you will. It still has the map to the side. It has that list. My theory on part of this is that if you'll notice in the top here really quick, in that tab, there's things like AI mode, maps, favorites. I think this is Google's way of keeping users close to that AI mode. If you want people to use AI mode, if they're not finding what they're finding within the map, instead of having them have to go back and search again, do all these other things, put it within that same tab, then someone can go and click, okay, you know what? I'm not getting what I want. I'm going to go to AI mode. You
Yeah, then
can't
you
do
still
that
have
anymore.
that interface, right? You still have that interface to get them to adopt. Yep, totally
And what's
makes
really funny, I was looking back at old SEO Juice webinars from this year in order for something I'm doing later. And I noticed, I thought I broke Google back in January where I got this experience. And I noticed it had that Places tab. So Google's obviously been working on this for a while. It makes sense that they would release this in relation to trying to get more people to use the AI. Nothing really to take away here other than to understand there's a different way people might be searching. They might be going to AI a little easier. Additionally, when you get to the bottom of this map, it doesn't necessarily say there are 10 more, there's another page. It just says see more. Um, so there's a chance that people aren't even going past this first page now. We may see
Yeah,
that. So kind of ranking in that top 10, 20 is going to be even more important, I think, in this experience.
totally.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, hashtags on Instagram. So I know we've been talking for a while about how hashtags really don't help your reach. They don't hurt it, to be clear, but they don't really help it the way that it used to. This is because the algorithms are advanced enough to actually just crawl what you're saying in your caption or in your text overlay or in your subtitles, and they know what you're talking about. They don't necessarily need a hashtag. You don't need a hashtag to tell them what you're talking about. This is kind of solidified in the last couple of weeks. Adam Mosseri did a Q&A where people asked if hashtags hurt or just don't help, and he confirms, it doesn't help. And if you're not familiar with him, he is the head of Instagram. So what he says, is kind of the truth. It's factual. So I definitely listened to him personally speaking. But on top of that, there also was people are seeing in the screenshot to the right that they are testing where you can only add 3 hashtags to your caption. So this isn't rolled out everywhere, but different users on Instagram and other places, I'm sorry, on LinkedIn and other places are sharing that they are only allowed to now add 3 hashtags to their caption, which again just kind of backs up the fact that it's probably not actually doing anything. So what I would recommend is if you do still use a hashtag strategy, don't have more than 3 right now, just in anticipation of this being rolled out. And also make sure you're being really smart about what you are using as a hashtag. Sometimes people say it comes off a little bit robotic to even include hashtags. So my actual recommendation would probably just be to move away from them in entirety.
Yeah. Keeping things still on Instagram, this was a really cool new feature. So they introduced your algorithm on Instagram Reels, essentially allowing you to, one, see what kind of topics are kind of currently being served up, what your interests are, almost like a Spotify Wrapped of sorts, but then allowing you to configure what you want to see more of. And what I thought was really cool is like you can add your own topics and really just kind of help build your feed to the specific type of topics that you really want to see. I personally really love this feature. I am really excited to see Instagram do this. I had a problem a few months ago where my algorithm was just like out of whack. It was videos that were either too political or things that did not want to see anymore. I had to rage delete all of my apps. And so I think this is just a really cool way to allow people to really configure what they want appearing in front of their own eyes. Kelly, did you have
So
anything to add on this?
yeah, I was gonna say a couple of things I'd add is one, I was watching Good Morning America this morning, as I do every morning, and this was actually the cover story on Good Morning America, which I thought was interesting. So I
Mhm.
definitely wanted to make sure we included this today, so everybody here knew about it. Also, wanted to add that I personally can't see this, so I don't know if it's being rolled out slowly or. I think I have the most up to date iOS and the most up to date Instagram app, so I don't know why I'm not able to tailor it. I actually just before this meeting put out a poll to all of SOCi to ask who can and who can't because I'm curious right now. So after this, I would encourage any Instagram users to go into their Reels tab, and then in the top right, there's 3 lines, and you should be able to click on that. And then you should be able to set up your algorithm from there. But like I said, I personally am not able to see that yet, so maybe it is a little bit of a slow rollout.
I haven't seen it yet either, but I'm very excited to. Um, Kelly, we had a question in the Q&A regarding your previous slide with the hashtags. They asked, does hashtags, your recommendation also include LinkedIn or Facebook for best practices? Um,
Yeah, yeah, I would say all networks are, again, not penalizing hashtags, but they are kind of moving away from hashtags helping. Instagram has been the most vocal about it. Instagram is actually the one that is I'm sorry, not penalizing. They are testing only having three. To my knowledge, I don't believe Facebook or LinkedIn is capping those hashtags. But it does kind of remain across all networks that hashtags are not helping. So you can probably go ahead and peel back on that. I will say LinkedIn is a little bit different just because they're not necessarily under Meta, the Meta umbrella. So I don't think they're necessarily being as progressive about like, potential penalization in the future or, capping how many you can have. But I would say I would treat Facebook and Instagram the same in the sense that you should only have three. If you're going to have any, LinkedIn, maybe start to peel back, but I wouldn't say they're being as aggressive about it right now.
Makes sense.
All right. So, another interesting update for those who've been on with us. We've been reporting on the Ask for Me feature that has been testing in Google Labs since the beginning of the year, essentially, which is where someone can, after a search, you'll see, ask, get prices. It used to just say ask for me. But what Google will do is send an automated call to a bunch of businesses that fit your description. You can set what you're looking for, and then Google will get back to you via an email, via text message, something like that. What we noticed last week is that this seems to have been rolled out outside of Google Labs and is available to most, depending on the type of search you're doing. So if you're searching for something like a gym, which is kind of a service, you can set up an appointment and time and find out what prices are. But really for beauty salon, for auto services, anywhere where you're trying to get some sort of services, grooming, you'll see these little buttons that have AI get prices at the bottom. You may see even schedule an appointment. That's another one that has been seen out in the wild. What I would recommend is if you're in an industry where you do offer up some sort of service or appointment booking, to do a search in your industry, a discovery search, see if this comes up, because if it does, you want to make sure that your store owners, your managers, franchisees know that these calls could be coming and to expect them. They are live leads. Someone is actively looking for a service. Google is trying to help with that. And if you're there and you're able to answer that question, you will likely get that business, right? If you're not, you definitely won't. So just wanted to let you know to keep an eye out for that. And if you do get these calls, I have yet to find a recording of how Google sounds when they call you. Google has one from years ago using the same architecture, the same AI model, but I have not found anyone who has gotten this Ask for Me feature that has posted that experience somewhere. I even used ChatGPT and Gemini to try and find videos or audio, couldn't find anything. So if you do get that call, we'd love to hear about that
Somebody
experience.
has a recording, Mike.
Pardon?
Look at in the comments. Somebody has a
Oh
recording.
my God, that is amazing. I didn't see that.
Please send to us.
Please, yes, please, we'd love to hear what that is, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, moving on.
Yeah, community management. So I always say that I believe community management is just as important as actually posting on social. So when we say community management, we're referring to the acts of responding to comments and direct messages. Buffer recently released a study really backing that up. So they said that replying to comments will actually boost your engagement by a various amounts of percentages below. So the big call outs I'd say is on LinkedIn, if you respond to comments on your post, you should see about a 30% increase in engagements. On Instagram, it's about 21%, and Facebook's 9%. And this does not include your own comment as an engagement. So the takeaway here is that responding to comments on your posts will really help you get more engagement and also get more visibility. So it really is helpful beyond just a consumer, customer service perspective. So we really, really recommend that you are responding to every comment, regardless if it's a complaint or if it's just someone's, sharing their experience in a positive way.
All right. And then last up, Google is making it easier to fight review extortion scams. So I think we talked about this in the last SEO juice. If we didn't, I know we covered it in a local memo, but there are some concerns over the fact that Google is now allowing anonymous reviews to be posted on business listings. But to kind of combat some of those risky concerns, Google has rolled out a new merchant extortion report form. So local business owners can actually report review extortion scams along with some advice on how to handle them. So if you do suspect that your business is being targeted by a review extortion scam, Google advises one, do not pay. Paying just encourages them. So definitely don't do that. Report it immediately. Use the form that they're providing, and then gather as much evidence as possible. So screenshot all demands and the fake review itself, and then Google can go from there and investigate and take further action. I will say it does seem like in this past year, Google has really, really cracked down on reviews and making sure that they are legitimate. I know even in doing that, we had some concerns. It seems like they were removing reviews that maybe were legit, like we feared they had flown too close to the sun. I think they're really just trying to balance it out so that businesses are protected at the end of the day. And that doesn't mean if somebody has a bad experience at your location that you're going to be able to get their, bad experience removed, but it'll at least be real. They really want to make sure that it's a true account of somebody who was at your business. And I do admire a lot of the changes and things that Google has done in this past year to really crack down on that.
Yeah, and I feel like th someone, if a bad actor was able to leave an anonymous review previously, they just had to create an account to do it. So I feel like this move in allowing anyone to leave a review without having to sign in and do all that other stuff, paired with a new feature where Google has allowed some multi-location brands to a limited extent, I think it's only like a couple dozen locations at a time, to put out, bulk posting, is that this is just another way that Google is trying to get more content, more user content through reviews, making it easier so people don't have to go and create an account to leave that review. They can just leave it. And then also making it easier for multi-location brands who don't have a service like ours to leave more posts. We've been talking for a while how Google really wants to see more posts, so that makes sense. How Google is moving to reviews to cover things like Q&A, so getting more of that makes sense. I think this all it all points to that. And it's interesting. I realized actually about a month or two ago, I wrote about this very form being released. I think it became news again because Lisa brought it up again, probably because of all the worry about this rollout and more people using it. So I think it really just rather than thinking about it in the negative terms, think about it in terms of what it says about Google and what Google wants, I think.
Absolutely. We got a pretty lengthy question, so I'm going to read it out loud. Quick question. With Google's Know Before You Go feature replacing Q&As, it seems like they're really prioritizing info from reviews, Google Business Profile posts, then website content. In the past, you've said that using keywords in review responses doesn't make a difference for search rankings, but do you know if Google is using review responses to inform their new AI FAQ process as well? Just wondering what else we can be doing to influence these highlights, Q&As beside GBP posts and FAQ pages on our websites. Um, all signs point to yes there. We've had some conversations with Google in the past about really wanting to encourage people to respond to reviews. Your review response is essentially validating that question or that experience that then allows and informs that know before you go section. So I think even though in the traditional sense where we're talking about like keyword seeding in review responses, like you're not going to get your kind of traditional SEO credit there. It is going to inform, I would imagine, that section to have educated kind of summaries for customer experiences in that space. Anything to add, Mike? Cool.
All right. So moving on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So Gary Vaynerchuk, also known as Gary Vee, was our keynote speaker at our Reimagine conference at the end of October. And to my surprise and delight, he spoke a lot about organic social. So I did write a recap article that I don't believe has been published yet, but I do highlight everything I talked about in the following slides. So hopefully, I do a good job at kind of recapping everything that he spoke about and really focused on. And if you were there, which I know some of you were there, because one of you sent me a video of him going over this, which was tremendously helpful in my recap. So thank you for that. Okay, so starting with the power of the middle funnel. So Gary really broke down the marketing funnel, emphasizing that the magic happens in the middle, in that consideration phase. So he says that everybody's either a performance marketer or a brand marketer, and all the magic in the next decade is actually in that middle funnel, that consideration phase. So the top of the marketing funnel is awareness, and then the bottom is a purchase. Like you're actually making that conversion. However, the middle is often overlooked. And this is where Gary explains that brands earn relevance and trust. And this relevance and trust is built through consistent storytelling and creative that holds attention organically, which is what he continuously referred to as interest media throughout the presentation, which was interesting because I've never heard of interest media before. So I think it's a really unique way of thinking about social and creative. So he actually argued that we've moved beyond the era of social media, and as most of us know, platforms no longer prioritize posts from people that you follow, but instead content aligned with your interests and behaviors. He said that I would argue that as we stand here today, social media doesn't exist anymore, and we are now an interest media. Which is a bold take. And I don't know if I necessarily go that far to say social media doesn't exist, but I think what he's really trying to say is that interest media, so what is interesting to all of us or what these news feeds think we are interested in is really taking priority over what was once that more like social aspect where we're seeing posts from our friends and we're following people so we can see what they're posting about. This evolution means that the creative itself now determines the reach. So a great piece of content can reach millions organically, regardless of follower count or ad spend, because algorithms now reward relevance, not budget, which is a really great thing because it levels out the playing field for brands of all sizes. And for decades, companies used massive budgets to disguise bad creative, in his words. But now algorithms have flipped that equation, noting that great creative actually drives reach. And here are some recommendations and the rationale behind them based on what Gary does at VaynerMedia. So they encourage brands to test creative organically before putting paid dollars behind it. And when a post significantly overperforms, it signals relevance, and that's when it's time to boost. Gary backed this up by explaining that when something over indexes your base, so 100,000 views versus your normal 4,000 views, that creative has proven that people care about it. So he recommends dedicating 20% of the marketing budget purely to organic social content, using it to test and learn what stories connect before scaling across the funnel. So all of you marketing people out there, you can go ahead and share with your leadership that Gary Vee recommends 20% of the budget strictly to organic social. I would have loved hearing that when I was in your shoes. Gary also reminded the marketers in the room that all platforms share one fundamental principle, which is that algorithms reward relevance. And I know that's something that we've been talking about for a long time on the SOCi side. Success doesn't come from follower counts or ad spend, but showing up consistently with authentic and valuable content. He says that relevance leads to consideration, and then consideration leads to buying. So consistency, niche storytelling, and genuine value are what sustain attention in that middle funnel.
I think that was one of the big takeaways that I had, especially at the top, the tested organically before putting paid dollars behind it, because it sounds so obvious, but that's not how teams are working today. Like you might boost, a piece of creative, maybe if it's doing well, but when you're planning out like paid campaigns, it's usually separate than that of your organic strategy. These teams oftentimes are working in separate kind of avenues. And it makes so much sense to actually understand like what's getting traction before you put any dollars behind it, and then learning from that and then putting dollars behind it. And again, it was like one of those just crazy moments where it's like, well, yeah, duh, but that's like not what we do today. So that was probably my favorite takeaway from his presentation.
And I will say, you saying that it's obvious is very accurate because I know this is something that I worked at an agency years and years ago, and that's what our standard used to be. We couldn't boost anything unless it got a 2% engagement rate organically, and then once it did, we would know to boost it. But I think in recent years, we kind of fell
Mhm.
into that pattern of saying we have to have paid dollars behind everything, and kind of went back to what he was saying with disguising bad creative with ad dollars. So I do think we're getting back to that place now where creative really should drive all of your marketing decisions. So, like you said, it is obvious. And I think it used to be standard. And now I'm excited to hear that he's recommending we go back to that tactic.
Makes sense.
So, AI, you can't have a keynote speaker today not talking about AI in some way. So, he did strike a little bit more of a balanced tone here. He praised its potential. Warned against over reliance. He actually said AI is, wonderful, but it is a tool, and if you use it well, it'll be great. And if you don't, it won't necessarily solve your problem. So he urged marketers to experiment with AI for ideation and analysis. And he gave valuable advice that you will not be replaced by AI, but you can be replaced by someone who uses AI. So basically, you can't ignore it. It's a fantastic tool, and it's something that we should all definitely be leaning into. He also predicted a massive shift in how consumers are discovering products, which is something, again, we've been talking about. It seems like forever on the SOCi side. Traditional search platforms like Google are losing ground to AI driven discovery tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, TikTok search. Future AI models will increasingly rely on short term video content to inform their results, meaning today's TikToks and YouTube shorts will literally train tomorrow's AI driven search engines, meaning the content you make today will actually feed the LLMs that power tomorrow's AI search. And then he closed with a reminder that marketing exists for one purpose, and it's to drive real business outcomes. So, again, talking about obvious, he says marketing is not a thing, it is a function to drive a business. So, in a world of shifting algorithms and endless new tools, his message really cuts through the noise, focus on creative that moves people and drives performance, and then the brands that stay relevant and consistent will continue to win even in this new era of AI and interest media.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. Um, we had a question come in during your presentation that I wanted to take between yours and before Mike's, and it was around the topic of Q&A. And I wanted to take it out loud because I also want to hear maybe Mike and Kelly's thoughts, but it's one that I've been personally trying to kind of rack my brain around as well. And it kind of has to do with that FAQ strategy and where does it live? So the question is, hi team, noted that Google has removed and is phasing out Q&A in last month's SEO Juice. You recommended repurposing these and posting on a website. If looking to incorporate, should the Q&A be hosted on local pages or should the Q&A be hosted on a dedicated Q&A page? Thank you. So, um, I'm going to sound so stereotypical when I say it depends. But I think what you can do with that content is a bit more diverse than just let's put it on a page. So if we look at what you have, there's probably a variety of things within your Q&A that might make a really good FAQ to put on your actual local business page. Things around what to expect at that location, what kinds of things are sold, if there's something unique about the experience in that store, or something even about the surrounding property, like if you have handicap parking or if there's accessible entrances or things like that. I know you can put that on your business listing, but it also is nice to maybe have on your page itself, right? Um, if there are topics that you are really targeting at the local level. So if there are things unique about those locations that are maybe not sold in other locations, or like things that you do in certain regions but not others, those are really great kind of like sources to put on your local pages. I would recommend every national website have an FAQ page of some kind. it just makes a lot of sense. They usually get picked up, but those are usually more broad topics about what the experience is like in your location, or if there are certain, types of cards that you accept even. I know that's very like generic, but just trying to think of some of those more like broader topics. I've recently kind of dabbled around with the thought of, we call them sub pages here at SOCi. I don't currently have any customers that are doing them, but it has kind of lived rent free in the back of my mind lately on what would it look like if there were unique FAQ pages that lived off of your local landing pages. Could they add benefit to your location appearing in LLMs or different type of platforms, or in traditional search? And what I mean by that is if your page is like, store.com/Pittsburgh/Robinson or whatever. I live in Pittsburgh, by the way, so I will always use that city as an example. But then maybe you had a page that lived off of your Robinson location that was frequently asked questions. And so that frequently asked questions page was a dedicated child page of your store. Um, haven't had anybody to test it out with yet. I really want to, but I'd be interested to see if that could be a viable strategy as well.
I think it's probably the best strategy. I mean, obviously there's no data behind it, but like in my journeys in searches to see what kind of FAQs came up, the ones that came from localized pages tended to be cited more than those from a national page.
Yeah.
Especially as you got into it, especially when the search or the questions, the prompts in GPT or Gemini or Perplexity were inherently local, right? If you're looking for something local, a restaurant, a store, a service, whatever that is, if it kind of gets that it's local, it will look for local information because that's the most relevant. So,
Absolutely. So if anyone is in the market for some sub pages off of their local pages, let us know. I'd love to test it out. I'd love to see what it looks like, if it picks up any traction. But so I hope that answered your question. I think the reality is that it can be used in a lot of places. I don't really think that you can overdo it, quite frankly.
mhm.
I think you just really have to look at what is topically relevant. Is it a localized type of question, or is it more of like a national brand type of question and kind of go from there?
And to that end, that makes it yet another time that we've mentioned why you should understand how customers search and look for you. I've talked about it way too much this year. We all have. I'm going to
Look at
acknowledge
that
that right now.
segue.
And this is only looking at this year. We've been talking about it since day one, this idea that you really need to understand how customers are searching for you. It was true in traditional Google SEO and creating things. It's even more so now with the launch of LLMs, with Google looking to pages when it doesn't have the reviews or the information on the knowledge in the knowledge panel. It's going to want to go here. We've been talking about it a lot, but we haven't had a lot of takers in like taking that next step. And it occurred to me that historically there have been very few resources outside paying an agency to do a survey or something to get this information for marketers to get this. But now we have ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Perplexity, Claude, we have all these LLMs that can tell us directly how people are doing these searches. So I figured, hey, let me do that. I'm going to go and ask GPT directly. I'm going to go ask Gemini directly. And this idea came out of Reimagine, to be honest, if I'm being honest. We had, we talked about having Google and ChatGPT speak back to back, and then Damien speak about them and what he was seeing. And it occurred to me, why can't we just ask and find out what people are asking in discovery, right? Why would someone go to an LLM instead of just doing a search for a restaurant? Like if you're going to go to an LLM, you're searching for something else. You're searching for those long-tailed keyword searches, which historically traditional search engines haven't been good at. I feel like every time my father-in-law visits, he asks me why he can't find this long sentence, like why Google won't bring something up. Well, because it's a different kind of search, and LLMs are now answering those questions for him. So if we go ahead and ask, we can find things out. I created a GPT. This is just some of the high-level stuff I got out of it. I'm going to give you prompts and I'm going to show you what I got. But just to create a high-level slide, if I was looking for auto repair services, I can find out that customers are reactive rather than proactive. They're looking for price transparency, trustworthiness. as part of their decision-making process. We can find out what things are most important to them in that process. Looked at programs for struggling kids. I wasn't sure what kind of category this landed in. So I just kind of looked up, okay, how do people even get there if they don't know what to search, right? And it says what parents are looking for. They're overwhelmed, they're uncertain, they're afraid of choosing the wrong path. So if you provide this kind of service, you want to create content that's reassuring, right? That is certain, that kind of helps you out, lets you know what to look for. Um, Something like a dollar store, you think people would just go because they're looking for something cheaper. But if they're in discovery and not sure what to go to, what are they actually looking for? There's value-driven intent, but they're like, is there real savings? Our product safe? Those kinds of things are a big decision factor if someone's looking for a specific kind of discount store for them. Yes, they want a discount, but they don't want to buy harmful products or get ripped off in some way. So all of these things can be found through prompts. You can learn a lot through prompting LLMs. And again, I'm going to give you these prompts throughout here. But you can discover what questions users are asking when they're researching your products, or what high intent questions lead to users choosing a business like yours. You can create FAQ content, about copy posts. You can use this to say, great, you've given me all these ideas. Now create this content using my website to provide this information. And then tell me what I'm not talking about on my website. Tell me where I'm missing out. And then lastly, you can even look at this by market. Something that is questions that are popular in one market might be completely different in another market. So I'm going to show you a quick 1 minute thing. I came back and I built a GPT based on this idea that I want to ask ChatGPT I want to be able to quickly put in an industry and find out what people are searching for. You're not going to see the prompt here. I'm going to give you the prompt afterwards, but I want to show you what just this one prompt would do. I put in assisted stretching. It's a new thing. There's not a good category for it. I don't necessarily understand what it's used for. So I want to know how ChatGPT is leading customers there. And you can see there's kind of a snapshot of what's happening in the customer's mind. The different areas, discovery and fit. What exactly is assisted stretching and how is it different than stretching I can do myself, right? Is it safe if I have previous industries? There's all these questions that GPT is getting asked fairly regularly. And they can even give the high intent conversion close questions, things like, how often should I come to see an improvement? What should I expect at my first appointment? And then you can even take this a bit further and go, hey, I'd like to get a summary ranking these questions, giving me kind of a summary, an overall summary, and a ranked list. Now, I will say, if you do this multiple times, these percentages will change a little bit, but overall, they're pretty much the same. What it's saying is the same over and over again. And you can even then go and ask it to give you charts and things like that. So how do I get to this? This first prompt, it looks fairly, I gotta get to the end of this to do this. Okay, here we go. Come on. Here we go. So this is the prompt. It's fairly lengthy. You don't necessarily have to read it, but there is an insert your service or industry in here. And if you copy this and paste it into ChatGPT, it'll give you essentially what we saw there, especially that first part, the broken up into 8 sections, the high intent questions. It can give you a real starting point if you're not sure where to go. It occurred to me, though, that there are some industries where you don't necessarily know what the service or industry is. For example, let's say you are a restaurant, right? And you're a quick service restaurant. If someone is searching restaurants near me, what would make someone serve a QSR restaurant versus a more sit-down fine dining restaurant or another type of restaurant? What are people looking for? So I created this. It's a very simple prompt, but you can do that. Where to eat, work out, buy shoes. You can really drop anything in here. I decided to go with eat in this instance. And I used Cheesecake Factory because I found this one interesting. What makes someone choose these bigger chain restaurants versus local restaurants? And I asked both ChatGPT and Gemini because I also wanted to check to make sure that what we were getting back is consistent, right? Is there's a big difference between what they were saying. We know that these kind of prompts aren't working. It was really high level. It kind of gave me this is just some interesting points that I pulled out of these. One was GPT was kind of highlighting the huge menu, wide appeal, and consistent experience as a lot of the main choices for choosing a restaurant like the Cheesecake Factory. What was interesting from Gemini is that it said by answering the questions that it gave, um, LLMs would correctly prioritize Cheesecake Factory as a solution. So it's saying, no, answer these questions and you have a better chance of appearing. What's really interesting, and I'm not going to go through every one of these, is that these are the ChatGPT questions that came up. Questions about food, craving, or variety. Where can I go that has a big menu? I want a place with a lot of options, healthy options and comfort food, occasion-driven, casual dinner that feels nice but not too pricey, birthday dinner, not too formal, fun atmosphere, more questions about atmosphere, questions about budget and perception. Can I take guests that feel upscale but won't break the bank? Won't break the bank. When I look at Gemini, it's giving very similar answers. Crowd pleaser intent, 7 people with different tapes, multiple cuisines, familiar meal, consistently huge menu. It's the same kinds of things, right? So there is a consistency here. Maybe it's a little different how people are asking these questions. It could be just the audience that uses these different tools. It just could be how they interpret them, but they're very similar. And so basically what I wanted you to take away, at least from these first 2 prompts, is they're very quickly you can find out what AI is doing. And this goes back to what Kate Kelly covered on what Gary Vee said about the idea of those who use these tools will continue to do well and will do better. Because if you understand how to create these prompts, you can come up with really good high value questions that you can answer and take your search, wherever that might be, whether it's SEO, whether it's GEO, whatever it is, you could take that to the next level. Especially because now that you have the questions, you can use a prompt to create an FAQ or to create a post or to create about copy. And you can have, if you provide the website, your website, which should have all this information, it will answer those questions using your information and then also highlight when that information isn't available. So you can go back and make sure to add that information. So when someone asks that question, you can be the answer by proactively answering it. So for instance, this particular prompt pulled up stuff like this. I used, again, assisted stretching since we were talking about it. I used Stretch Zone. And here it basically gives a couple ideas for FAQs. I didn't put them all here, but here's a couple examples right there. And here's a couple examples when it doesn't have all the information. It basically says, not all the information is here to completely answer this question or this question. And these questions we can't answer at all. So we need to do something. We need to add content in order to answer those because they are common questions. And then lastly, which I think is really great, is you can look at customer research patterns between different cities. This is something really important to make sure that you're talking to your local customer, right? Something that someone's asking for in California might be different than what they're asking for in Texas. So I did, what's the market comparison for assisted stretching in Los Angeles versus Dallas? And in Los Angeles, it's more holistic wellness, performance orientation. How does it help for long-term mobility, right? Is it similar to what pro athletes use? Here, it's will it help with lower back pain, hip tightness? Does it actually reduce stiffness? What people are asking locally is very different. So what you choose to highlight and focus on might be very different. And then it can even summarize those differences at a real slight level. But knowing we're running out of time here, I just kind of wanted to provide these prompts. I think this is a really great way to get started. We're going to talk about this a lot more in the new year. Like this really is the one area you can control that has, I think, a lot of juice when it comes to any type of search, right? Whether it be in social, whether it be in LLMs, whether it be in traditional. The other things that you can't control as much, right? Reviews. You can control the idea of making reviews available or making, the path available to leave reviews, but you can't make people leave them. You can create social content, but you can't make people like it. But you can create content that the LLMs like and prefer when providing recommendations to people. So understand that core need, use the LLMs for that, be the expert, right? We've talked about that a lot, and keep the content fresh. This is another thing which I think this is going to be very valuable. Last month, I think we talked about another study that brought in freshness and what that means. I think we want to do more testing on how that applies to local pages, but you can assume it would apply. And so how do you keep that content fresh consistently, whether that's quarterly, seasonally, monthly. Trader Joe's does an amazing job of updating things monthly. Figure out a way to make content fresh. And Casey, anything you want to add to this?
No, that I used to keep myself when I was an SEO analyst on I had a calendar of seasonal things and I moved with the quarters basically, which I think really just helped kind of do that refresh on all those areas where I update content. Because even if you don't think your business is seasonal, it is because human beings are seasonal. So just something to keep in mind there. But no, overall, Mike, I think it's super helpful. We will definitely be sharing out all of this information after the call. And like Kelly said in her presentation, it's very important that you start using AI because those are going to be the best marketers. Um,
Yeah. And these 4 prompts, that's all you need. These 4 prompts will give you so much information.
yep.
And I'm excited to hear, even in the next session, like, has anyone used this? What kind of successes have you had? And for those who are customers and want to know more, and I've created a prompt internally, so anyone internally can create some of this stuff. So ask your CSM about it, and they can ask me about it, and it's something I can pull together really quick to help some of you with. So
Absolutely.
cool. Moving on.
Caught
There,
in the wild.
Caught in the
What have you
wild. I will
found?
say there aren't any new categories or new attributes that were of note this month to discuss. We're hoping for Christmas we're going to get a bunch of new categories. I asked Google about some that we recommended. They say we might be hearing more this week. I'm hopeful that's the case. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Our own Damian Rollison is at, what's the event that's going on right now?
I think it's the API partners or something. I don't know specifically what they call it, but it's a partner conference of sorts. I think he's on his way back from it today.
Gotcha. So a lot of news we'll probably have next month on that hopefully we can share as well.
Absolutely.
Um, So one thing I caught in the wild just this week, there's been a lot of news, I think, where people are seeing these Ask Anythings show up more in mobile. I think I saw some news about that. We've been seeing it for a bit. We've been highlighting it here. But this week was the first time I've seen it show up in desktop search. It's being called Ask Anything. It is that AI mode. It will return things that it has via whether it's a review, whether it's information on Google, whether it's a homepage, it'll tell you where that information is coming from. This is another area where you can find out what people are asking just based on this. If you're searching for yourself, Google will bring up the kind of questions that people normally ask when researching a business, and it's another great way to find out what people are asking and what content you should be creating. So before we wrap up, though, we have one more thing to talk about
Yeah.
and announce.
So, coming very soon, at the start of the year is our SOCi Central. It's our community. I know we've teased this in prior episodes of The Juice, but we are already engaged in this channel. Mike and Kelly are posting up a storm. All of this great information and more that we talked to you guys about in The Juice is also going to be in SOCi Central in real time. It'll be a great place for you guys to also be able to have conversations about certain topics or changes. You can ask questions. The three of us will be very active in the community. So super excited for that to launch. Anyone who is a customer of SOCi is able to join the community. You do need to be a customer of SOCi to access the SOCi Central community. I saw that was a question asked as well. And then another note, Kelly posted, we don't have a slide on this in the chat, but SOCi also has a really great, what do they call it? Like you can subscribe to, what is the word
Like
I'm
a
looking for?
newsletter subscription
Newsletter.
almost.
Thank you. It was escaping me. End of the year, everybody. So LinkedIn has these newsletters that you can subscribe to. Soci's is called The Local Lift. There's a really great one published today. I highly recommend subscribing to that as well to catch our content in that space. And I think that's it, Mike.
That
Yeah.
is
All right. Guys, we will see you in 2026. Catch you next year. So excited for all that is to come. And I hope you all have a wonderful, safe, healthy, happy holiday season and an awesome new year. So thank you so much for joining us.